Hello, hello everyone. I hope you're well, and I thank you very much for joining this panel. So I'm gonna ask you to introduce yourself, 1 or 2 minutes each, and then we'll go into more general question. Shall we begin now? Yeah.
Sure. Do you want to go first?
So, yes, I'll ask Mojan Asgari. Would you introduce yourself?
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Mujan Asgari. I'm the co-founder of Women in AI. Women in AI is a global nonprofit that helps women to have more representation in the field of AI. So we do that with organizing events to raise awareness. We have an educational program for young girls and also for employees in companies and anyone who is interested in upscaling and learning more about AI. We do have different programs for female founders, acceleration program, and awards for women entrepreneurs to help them to have basically a support from us and be able to pursue their careers. I'm also the founder of Thousand Eyes on Me, which is a platform for women and gender minorities to become strong, authentic leaders. And for that, we have also different programs to help women to come over the imposter syndrome, get better in communication, and find their authentic leader. That's about me.
Thank you. Melissa, Seymour, would you say a few words as well?
Yeah, thanks. Hello, everyone. So I'm Zasimo. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Codist. Codist is like the Google Translate for source code. So basically, we're building a tech able to translate any programming languages into natural language, like going from Python to English, going from Java to French, etc., etc. So this is what my company is about. But on a more personal note, I'm personally involved in diversity representation in the social space, social ecosystem, political ecosystem, including the tech ecosystem. Because for me, this is really a high stake today to make sure that diversity in terms of gender, races, are represented to face most challenges.
Thank you. So for AI, is AI the answer to tomorrow's challenge? We have also the chance to have Antoine Borde with us. Antoine, would you say a few words as well?
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Antoine. I'm a co-managing director of Facebook AI Research. Facebook AI Research is the fundamental AI research lab of Facebook that's opened 6 years ago, and that's present in multiple countries. Here in Paris, we have one of our biggest center with almost 100 people doing fundamental research in partnership with academia. And as part of this, we are founding multiple PhD, participating in master programs, and we also open source and publish everything, which means that a lot of startups, including SHNF, are actually using and building tech on some of the code we've been open sourcing in the last few years.
Thank you. Thank you, Antoine. Did Emeric join us? Or?
Not yet.
No? Okay. So thanks a million to the three of you, Mojan, Melissa, and Antoine. The main question people ask to themselves when speaking about AI is two things, I would say. Is AI doing real progress? Because we've seen some winter and some real progress in AI. But also, can AI be for the good of humanity in terms of sharing the knowledge, but also answering the big question, like, can AI help get a better health, or can feed a war on Earth, for example? Mojan, do you have an opinion on all these questions?
Sure. I actually have concrete examples for you from our last Women AI Awards for female startups, because this is the second year we're organizing it, and we saw very, very interesting advancement in just seeing the new projects coming up and new innovations. So I would just give you some examples. For example, the company called Sunrai, based in the UK, they are working on biotech and pharma companies, helping them to have better storage of their data and better usage. And this is one of the examples that it's really helping the health industry to be able to treat this data better and analyze it faster to help people, solve their issues. A very, very interesting example is also a company called Somebody AI, based out of Finland. And what they do is that they are providing legal and psychological first aid for the victims of social media crimes, especially for children, such as harassment, bullying, and sexual abuse. And this is in sort of a chatbot helping, people who are victims to be able to respond back to these problems that it arises. So these are really interesting usages of AI that it can be very beneficial for the society. And I think, they can make our world better by using these technologies. Another example that is very, very much, I think, useful for companies more and more using AI in their operations is a company called Ethic AI, that they actually certify the models and say if they are fair or not. They detect biased algorithms. So this is very interesting and important in data treatment and in algorithm creation, especially when more and more the big tech companies that are using algorithms to use to solve their problems and get more efficiency, either in recruitment or crime signaling or anything else. These are very, very good examples of AI that can help us to operate better.
Thank you. We've now been joined by Emeric Lopez. Welcome, Emeric.
Hi, do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you very well. Thank you.
Sorry, I had some issue. Just quick introduction. I don't want to interrupt. I'm Emeric Lopez, so I'm AI director for Microsoft France. Basically, I drive the AI strategic plan for the Microsoft France subsidiary. So working on innovation with big corporate, but also startup and social entrepreneurs. Working on ethics, on skills, jobs, and everything related to AI for good. That's the purpose of the conversation of today.
AI for good is a good proposal. Thank you, Emeric. Melissa, would you maybe give us your insights on individual responsibility making AI solve tomorrow's challenge? What do you think about that?
When we talk about AI, we use a broad term, but basically today AI is more like a set of intelligent agents able to solve complex tasks automatically. And in that process, that means that humans build algorithms trained on data to solve one specific task. So we have the question of who is training the data, to which goal, and how this data is gathered, and how these algorithms are built. And in my opinion, in that process, the role of the human is highly important because as data scientist, as a machine learning engineer, I have a crucial stake in what I build and what it is used for. So a major way to build AI as a solution for tomorrow's challenge is to make people who build the algorithm, who build these pipelines, aware of the usage of this AI in the future, for which goal it will serve, by who it will be used, or against who it will be used, and this awareness that everyone should have, asking themselves, okay, what will my tool will be useful for, is an essential question to solve tomorrow's challenge. Because you can ask yourself, do I want my tool to be used for more justice equity, for more social equity, for more economic equity? And in that sense, each and every one player building AI has stakes in solving tomorrow's challenges.
Thank you. Antoine, would you say a few words about some of your research, recent projects at FAIR, maybe Transcoder, and how could maybe AI, maybe I'm wrong, but could it help find solutions about coronavirus?
Yeah. So, I mean, just to go with what was said before, I think the ethical question, the responsibility question, how to do AI and do it for a purpose that we believe are important and well defined is very important for us as well. I think as a research lab, we have always been a strong proponent of open research and publishing and collaboration in all our projects and open sourcing as well. I have just a few examples. So one that just came out today, that went on today, which is the Open Catalyst project. It's a project in partnership between FAIR and Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh. And the idea is to try to find if AI can actually help to find new catalysts for electrocatalysis chemical reactions. The key for this reaction is that they will be reaction that could be helpful to store renewable energy. Okay, renewable energy is intermittent. So when you have solar energy, if there's a cloud, you have a drop. And when it's very sunny, actually you have a lot of energy. And that's a bit of the challenge. To store them, there are multiple ways that are explored. And one of them would be that the energy you have, the surplus of energy you have, you would use it to store it and maybe to create new materials with that. For that, you need catalyst. And finding the right catalyst is really a key question in chemistry right now. So Open Catalyst, a project in partnership with CNU, where we release a big data set, 14 million chemical reaction that people can use as a challenge so that the community can take advantage of that. A second one that's maybe closer to us is the COVID-19 crisis indeed. And for this one, we've been partnering with NYU, University of Vienna, and also Cornell University to use the technology we've been developing on working on graph and propagation of graph to see if it could be applied to forecast of the COVID propagation, being able to predict like in 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, what's going to be the number of cases, is it going to spike, and try to do that pretty at a spatial level that's useful for hospitals and government to see, do I need to open this? Do I need to close bars here? I mean, all these kind of questions that are actually very, very timely right now, unfortunately. You need to have projection. Everybody's talking about epidemiologist projection, right? It's very useful. We are not epidemiologists, but with the way of partnering with epidemiology, we try to find the best, which is like experts in the domain, supercharged with AI. We work together, we open source, and we share what we do. So this is really a modus operandi that we really like to work with. That's allow also to follow the best. We believe in responsibility because we're not judging ourselves what should be the outcome of the research. We're doing that with experts and with other researchers from other fields.
Thank you, Antoine. Emeric, would you like to react and maybe elaborate a little bit more about what you're doing with AI?
Yes, I cannot agree more than what we just heard here. That if we want to build a responsible AI, we need to both work on the ethical part, but also on the societal impact that AI can have. If we illustrate a little bit what could be an AI in the AI for good field, I would say that it can definitely have an impact on health, accessibility, cultural heritage, humanitarian action, or Earth. And let me give you some quick illustration example around that. We've great example from FAIR on the COVID-19 on health, and of course there's a lot of impact that we can have on health with AI. Most recently, what we've seen is that we've just launched a project called Project Premonition that you can search on where we can, let's say, anticipate the disease coming from the animals using mosquitoes analysis. I feel very interesting is the accessibility, because AI can definitely, amplify the human capabilities for people with disability, like, for example, blindness, and to build system for a more inclusive world. For example, if you go on iOS and you want to download Seeing AI, it's an application, a public application where blind people can use it to understand their environment, the object, and have let's say a more close relationship to the world. If you talk about cultural heritage, we've been working with a local startup Econem, for example, on the Mont Saint-Michel, but on the Open Notre Dame project that we have launched to rebuild, to use AI to build some model, and let's hope that it can help rebuild Notre Dame. And if we think about Earth, there's so many examples where we directly collaborate with big corporations, but social entrepreneurs. You have, for example, Sherit and Ashoka in Station F, where we jointly work on, biodiversity project, but on precision agriculture to help, let's say, farmers to have tools for example, dairy farmers to grow their cows with, natural food, reducing the carbon impact, but also increasing the quality of the milk while preserving the environment because low carbon emission. This is En Direct des Éleveurs. This is a milk that you can buy on a supermarket. But there's so many projects on biodiversity, like Walmy, on the plastic detection on the ocean, like Oceans Cleanup, or more recently, Surfrider Foundation in Europe. So many things to do with AI, and the idea is really how can we democratize and provide the tool to any citizen, to any developer, to any startup, to any corporate organization, and also non-profit, so they can improve their social impact and have the tool to make a positive change in our world.
Thank you, Emmerich. So we've seen an amount of possibilities of very good, promising use of AI, but at the same time, some people fear about AI, maybe due to science fiction, to the media, or to negative possibilities of use of AI. Do you understand these fears, and how can we fight against bias, for example, in AI? What's your opinion on that, Mojan?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Guillaume. Basically, well, myself, first of all, I'm a big fan of science fiction. I think they help us to augment, our imagination, and that's the only, I think, biggest importance of humankind, that we can have that. However, I think, I believe that AI can augment our biases, and that's why it's that we have this fear. The way that we can avoid it is raising more awareness about the AI for good, and what are the good, things that we can do with AI, all the things that we just discussed about it, and make sure that we understand how we're using it. So the application part of it is important. Regulation part of it is very hard, but I think that we need to work on it. The problem, I think, with regulation is that we don't know what's going to happen. We really don't know how to put the regulation. We haven't encountered those problems yet, but I believe that Europe is very much ahead of that. With European Commission, laws are coming in 2021. So I think that the more we have awareness and applications that are beneficial for the society, I think we could have that education for the society.
Thank you. Is the key making the research on AI being more open? Who would like to react to that? Maybe Morgan or Antoine, or maybe Emmerich?
Yeah, I mean, I could just very briefly. I think being open is very important also to bring people along. I mean, it was mentioned democratizing. You cannot democratize if you're behind closed doors. But on the other hand, open also doesn't remove the responsibility. So there is also responsibility in how to open source, where to open, how to actually explain what are the pros and cons, the benefit and the risk with all the technology. So I think this is the stage where AI is right now. They said that yes, open is important, but what does it entail? I think it was said before very nicely. The people building the AIs, the people actually putting this out, they also have a responsibility in terms of explaining and how they do it, and also explaining all the technology have positive and negative consequences, right? And when you build the AI, you should be aware of that and be able to bring people along also.
Thank you. Melissa, maybe?
Yeah, I will bounce back on what Antoine just said, because for me, one of the best examples is what OpenAI did lately. OpenAI released one of the biggest NLP models, the natural language processing model, GPT-3. This model is extremely powerful, able to generate paragraph, even stories, only from just few words you provide to the model. But on the counter side, they realized that as they learned from existing text, the texts that were generated by GPT-3 were racist, could be sexist also, quite a lot of bias in terms of gender. And OpenAI, for different reasons, decided not to open source their model. They provided beta access to some users, but they did not, and I don't think they will release a full model because they can't regulate entirely how this model will be used, and they have the responsibility to do that. So opening AI means that you are educating people on what are the stakes, what they can do with that, and what can be the consequences also, but also what is the existing bias within the models that are put into their hands. So they need to be aware about that. They need to understand how they can use that, but what are the limitations too. So this is a personal responsibility for the person creating the model. But Mojan also said is a regulation. There's a regulation at the level of the company, for example. As a company, I can decide not to put too much emphasis on building strong model, but model respecting the environment. So limiting their energy consumption. I can have regulation saying to which extent I want to have black box models and stuff like that.
Thank you, Melissa. Time is running really fast, and thank you as well to Antoine and Mojan. Maybe a very quick word to Emeric, maybe to a last word.
Yes, I mean, if we talk about ethics and responsible AI, definitely this has to be, let's say, open and work together. This is why we, from the beginning, partnering with big corporate like Facebook, like Google, and all working on ethics, like partnership on AI, which you have this initiative on the West Coast. But also in France, we have launched a Think and Do Tank, which is called Impact AI, to work with the French ecosystem on those responsible AI topics, not only in terms of principle, but also in terms of governance, in terms of tools. And I invite you to go and look at those work, because this is the ecosystem working with also the regulation and the government. This is the best way that we can have a positive impact to all be responsible and at the same time have a good impact on the society.
Well, that's all what you have the time for. Mojan Asghari, Melissa Seymour, Antoine Borde, and Emeric Lopez, thanks a million. This is just exciting. We're going to follow you on social networks and continue the conversation with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.